It's always so awkward every single time I do this. Listen, I love drawing hands. They can help a character look lithe and graceful, clumsy, thick, fun and silly, gaunt and creepy, small and delicate, or sturdy and strong. If you know anyone who talks with their hands, like I do, you know that they are key bits to certain bits of body language and can be a great way to show how a character is feeling. Hands drawn well can be a thing of beauty and can completely frustrate even the most talented of artists. If you've ever tried drawing hands before, you know that the struggle is real. Hands can be a real pain to learn how to draw well. Just ask an AI to draw hands for you and you'll feel way better about the way you draw them. A badly drawn hand can feel like it's ruined even the best of your drawings. So in this video, I'll be answering the question that I've probably been asked the most in my comment section of all my videos. How the heck do I draw hands? Welcome to Drawing with Chris Wharton. I'm Chris, and today I'm going to be going through the methods I use to draw hands. Hopefully by the end of this drawing tutorial, you will have the tools you need to draw hands like your favorite illustrators do. Or at least how I would. First, I'll go through how to think about the basic structures of a hand. Next, I'll quickly go over how the pieces move together. And then I'll talk about the ways to play with the shapes and the details you can add to adjust your designs for different ages and body types. Sound good? Great. Let's jump into structure. Hands! They come in so many different shapes and sizes and details and ways that they can be positioned. So how could I possibly teach you how to draw this baby's hand and this old man's hand using the same set of rules? Well, to do that, we need to find the similarities between their underlying structure and the rules that most hands have in common. Hands are typically made up of the same parts that all come together and move in very specific ways. So if we break them down into their common components and understand the ways that they move, we can start to see the patterns between the different hands and can use those patterns to draw better looking hands consistently, no matter the character's age or body type. After you have a good handle on these rules, you can explore where those rules can be bent or even broken. I'm looking at you, Hitchhiker's Thumb. The parts of the hand we'll focus on first are the palm, the base of the thumb, and the segments of the fingers and the thumb. All these parts can be thought of in box-like shapes to better keep in mind where the tops and bottoms differ from the sides. Let's start with the palm. The palm is a wedge-shaped box. This shape is wider across the top where the fingers attach and narrower towards the wrist. It's also thicker closer to the wrist since there's more meat on the bones there. The base of the thumb is a bit odd in that parts of the shape overlap the palm's shape. From the back of the hand, it looks like a triangle, and from the palm side, you take that triangle and you add half of a circle that goes out into the middle of the palm. The finger segments can each be thought of as long boxes in order to keep in mind where the tops, sides, and bottoms are. The fingers and the thumb all have 3 segments. The thumb can feel like it only has 2 segments starting from this corner of the base of the thumb, but it's good to keep in mind that the base of the thumb is the 3rd segment. Apart from those 3 areas of the hand, there are some little details to keep in mind about the structure of the hand. Looking at an open hand, it's really easy to see the size difference between the fingers. Generally, the longest finger will be the middle finger, followed by the index and ring fingers, which are about the same length. The shortest is the pinky finger, which is also the thinnest. And the thumb is usually wider than any of the fingers. The final joint of each finger and thumb, sometimes called the fingertip, is slightly wedge-shaped, narrowing towards the tip. The nail bed starts around halfway up the top of each fingertip. When you're drawing comics and cartoons, wrinkles should really only be added in specific areas, unless you're drawing an older character. Places you will see wrinkles most are on the palm, the headline, and the heartline, which are sometimes combined, the lifeline, the thin webbing of skin between the thumb and the palm, the slight creases between the finger segments on the bottom of the fingers and the thumb, and the knuckle joints on the back of the hand. Okay, the last thing I'll talk about before we actually start drawing some hands is the way that hands move. Wrist joints can bend up and down about 180 degrees, but only about 45 degrees from side to side. All of the finger joints and the thumb joints can hinge at least 90 degrees. Some go a little bit farther. For instance, my hitchhiker's thumb. When fingers are open, they tend to flare apart from each other. But when they close into a fist, they scrunch together. Also, when fingers close into a fist, they're usually able to completely close the gap between themselves. You can see this best from either side of a closed fist. However, when the thumb closes in the same way, there's still a gap between the tip of the thumb and the actual thumb pad. Finally, the thumb also twists slightly depending on whether it's tucked in towards the palm or flared away from the palm. Okay, I know what you're thinking. This is all way too much. Way too many things to keep straight just so that I can draw hands. The truth is, all these details are great to keep in mind when you draw, but you don't actually have to draw them every time. Really, these structures are used to refine your sketches when drawing hands in unfamiliar poses. I'll show you what I mean, but first, I just want to do a little bit of shameless self-promotion. What do you think of my shirt? Pretty sweet, huh? Well, not to toot my own horn, but I drew it. And this one, and this one. In fact, I have about 10 different t-shirt designs currently up for sale on my TeePublic store. So if you want to get one for yourself or a friend, or you just want to help support this channel, you can look me up on teepublic.com and pick up a shirt. All right, let's try drawing a thumbs up. Totally smooth segue. The first thing I'll do is I'll block out the shapes of the hand in a thumbs up pose. We don't have to do anything fancy here or 3D here. It's just a rough sketch to build on, and it already kind of looks like a thumbs up at this point. From here, I could add some more structure lines to figure out where the joints of the thumb will sit, but I'm pretty happy with this to start. Next, I can do a second pass to get a clearer idea of where the actual lines will go, and add some structure only where I want to get a clearer idea of where things are and where they bend. And when I'm happy with that, I can do a third pass, putting down the final contour lines and details, and then get rid of my sketch lines. Let's try drawing another thumbs up pose, but this time from a different angle, kind of like it's coming towards the viewer. As before, I'm going to block out the general shapes to get an idea of where I want everything. You can see I just grouped together the fingers into a block, which I'll later break into separate sections for the individual fingers. Since the angle is a bit trickier, during the second pass, I'll break down the structure of the palm and the thumb to get a better idea of where the pieces are in space and how they fit together. Then I'll move to separating the fingers and adding rough knuckles and the meat of the palm. Then in my third pass, I'll use all these guidelines I sketched out to draw the final contour and detail lines. Can you see how it all comes together? The steps are block out your general shape and pose, refine using the rules of structure that we went over, then refine further drawing your final lines, and erasing your sketch and structure lines. Got it? Great. Let's draw a few more, but this time I'll go over some ways the structure can be changed to draw different kinds of hands. Now I have to point out here that all hands are different. I know that's kind of obvious. People that have the same exact body weight, body type, age, and gender can all have different looking hands. So the categories I'll be going over aren't meant as blanket statements about anyone's hands in particular. These are just visual ways that drawings can be adjusted to evoke specific types of characters. This is not meant in any way to offend your baby, for example, if their hands don't look like this. Okay? Glad we got that straight. Up to now, I've been drawing what I tend to think of as an average man's hand. Using this as a baseline, let's see what makes a baby's hand look different. Obviously, baby's hands are smaller, but for this example, I'll draw the hand roughly the same size as the one on the left. Baby's palms are shorter than they are wide. Everything is rounder and softer looking, with practically no straight lines. Their joints don't bulge at all. In fact, the segments are thicker towards the middle, getting thinner at the joints. Knuckles on the back of their hands are very minimal, and they have smaller and shorter fingernails. Similarly, adults' hands with more fat on them can have similar proportions to a baby's hands. The main differences they have from baby's hands' proportions are bigger fingertips and nails, bigger knuckles on the back of their hand, and the level of detail that's been added. In contrast, older hands have almost the same proportions as the average adult's example on the left, but The bone structure under the skin is more visible, making the joints way more obvious. The skin gets thinner with old age, which makes the veins and tendons on the backs of the hands more obvious too. Finally, wrinkles. You can really accentuate the wrinkles around the knuckles, the webbing of the thumb, and other areas if you like. For stronger, stockier characters, just think blockier with your structure. The palm, fingers, and thumb are all wider and thicker. Also, I like to shorten the finger segments a little bit. The fingertips are squarer and less of a wedge shape. Also, the knuckles are more obvious and the nails are wider and more square-shaped. For lithe and graceful characters, think delicate. These hands will look very similar to our base hand on the left, only with thinner fingers that gently taper off towards the ends. Try not making the joints too obvious, adding little to no detail to them, or avoid including them at all where you can. Use softer curves whenever possible, and make the fingernails subtly narrower. Whew! That's probably a lot to take in. Honestly, hands can take a while to get a handle on drawing, so I suggest you practice them a lot, and be very patient with yourself. If you're having trouble, remember to use the structures we went over to help you make sure everything is the right size and moving as it should. Also, don't be afraid to use references. You're watching this video, so I assume you know how to look up reference material on the internet. Use your own hands as a reference. Also, use a mirror, or take pictures of yourself, or your friends, or your enemies, for that matter, if you can get them to sit still long enough to pose for you. Maybe one day I should do another video drawing creatures' hands, where I could go over things like drawing claws, stone hands, or hands with fur or scales on them, maybe adding or taking away fingers, or maybe adding or taking away joints. If you like that idea, or have any other ideas for videos I should do, please let me know in the comments. And don't forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel for more drawing videos. Thanks for watching. There's a comma. I should have a comma there. That'd probably help. And this is distracting as hell for you, isn't it? I know it is. I can feel you staring at me.
Look at your leg.
Yeah, I know, I'm bouncing.
You're gonna have so much editing.
So much editing.